I received very kind words of encouragement from some of you after last Sunday's message, and I want to thank you. Finishing the sermon was a huge relief, and knowing that it went well, I felt satisfied. But can you guess what my immediate next thought is? Stress! Oh, can I do a good job again? That's not to say that if you want to encourage me, you shouldn't, okay? You can still do that. And when I reflect on how I feel, I learn two things. First, I wish to do a good job. I hope to prepare an excellent sermon. I want to deliver good quality work. I don't desire mediocrity. Nobody starts off their work that way. The human psychology explains the human desire to do well as a need for achievement. We have this need to accomplish our goals and attain a high standard of performance. But the Bible goes one step further and explains why there is even such a need in the first place. Last week, I shared that mankind is made in God's image. That means God imparted some of who He is to us. We crave justice because He is just. We love because He is love. And we pursue excellence because God is excellent in everything He does. The Bible says God saw everything He had made and it was good. God takes pleasure in a job well done. The second thing I learned is doing a good job, however, seems elusive. We all had times when we did well and felt fulfilled, and we want that to happen again. But some moments later, in our next task, we somehow miss the mark, or we feel uncertain if we can deliver once more. Doing a good job then seems to be a chance encounter, and we can only wait and hope for the next time we will shine again. However, despite this very real fear and worry, we should not be discouraged or deterred from seeking to do our best. I had a good friend in secondary school who graduated a year later than me because he was in the normal stream. On the day he received his O-level results, I couldn't be there physically, but I was very concerned and called him as soon as I could. Now, just in case you or Abel is wondering, he's not my boyfriend, okay? That is somebody else. Since it's been more than 10 years, I really can't recall his grades. But to this day, how he felt and something he said has stayed with me. He was disappointed with his results, and like what any good friend would do, I tried to comfort him. But honestly, his results were not surprising, since he had never put much effort into his studies. The next thing he said was something I never expected from my Abing friend. He said, "My regret is not the results, but knowing that I did not try my best." Wow, that was the deepest and most enlightening comment I had ever heard from him. He was aware that he didn't deserve anything better. But what got him thinking was the sense of unfulfillment from not having put in his best effort. I never thought someone like my friend would experience and identify with this intrinsic desire to pursue excellence. But something about what he said resonated with me. Good outcomes don't happen all the time. We may not always score A's, come in first, hit every KPI, nail every single assignment. But if we don't give our very best, then it will certainly not happen, and we will not be able to experience the inner fulfillment of having done a good job. How we really want to feel when we leave work each day is satisfaction. A deep sense of satisfaction that comes not from having had a good lunch or good chat with our colleagues, but from having done a good job that day. There is a prominent figure in the Bible who is known for his work ethic. His name is Joseph. Joseph is introduced in Genesis chapter 37 as a 17-year-old boy shepherding sheep with his brothers. His father Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. One of the ways Jacob showed favoritism was to make a fanciful robe for Joseph alone. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. To make matters worse, Joseph had two dreams that indicated his brothers would someday bow to him. His jealous brothers hated him so much that one day they plotted to kill him. But in the end, they sold him away as a slave. We pick up the story in Genesis chapter 39, verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. Before you dismiss Joseph as an ancient, holy character who does not share our struggles, I assure you, on the contrary, that the work he had was much tougher. He had far worse bosses and faced way harsher working conditions. Yet, he worked with consistent excellence, even under such challenging circumstances. That's why today we want to learn from Joseph 3 practical principles about doing a good job, and the first is to work hard. That's it, work hard. Most of you already understand that you need to work hard and put in the effort to do well. But working hard is hard. And very few people have the discipline to put in the hours, the effort, day after day, year after year. Fortunately, the good news is that anyone can develop the ability to work hard. And once you do, the feeling of working hard can be rewarding and deeply satisfying. Back to Joseph. He was almost killed by his brothers, but in the end was sold by them to slave traders who in turn sold him to an Egyptian official named Potiphar. Now put yourself in Joseph's shoes. How will you be feeling? Angry is an understatement. I think I will be raging. I will be consumed by bitterness and hatred. Amidst these intense feelings, Joseph still had to work as a foreign domestic worker in a stranger's house. I'm not sure about you, but if it was me, I will surely not be in the right mind to work. Even when I do my job, I will only do the bare minimum out of obligation, just to avoid negative consequences. But not Joseph. Genesis chapter 39, verse 6. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Potiphar left Joseph in charge of his household and entrusted everything he owned to Joseph's care. It's like some of us who are blessed enough to have a good domestic helper. And so we don't have to worry that we will find our clothes in the wrong wardrobe, see stains on the stove, fear that our babies will be neglected. Everything is in order, and we return home to a neat and tidy place, a nice home-cooked meal, and happy children each day. The only thing that troubles us is whether to eat steamed or fried fish, pork ribs or chicken soup. What does it say about the way your helper works? What does the fact that Potiphar left everything to Joseph's care say about the way Joseph worked? Without a doubt, Joseph must have worked very hard despite the unfavorable circumstances. Now, is that how your boss feels about you? Can your boss leave everything to you and go on a holiday without a worry? One of the hardest works I've done is breastfeeding. After experiencing it with my first, I told my husband before each subsequent birth, oh man, I'm gonna go through it all over again. Breastfeeding consumes your time, limits your movement, brings you physical pain, and is a big logistical hassle. If I may be completely honest, I wasn't looking forward to it. Yet, I worked hard at it. I rarely skipped a session. When I wasn't producing enough milk, I increased the feeding frequency, even though that meant I had little breaks. I watched my diet and bought lactation supplements to make sure I give my baby good quality milk. I invested in various breastfeeding products so that I can continue pumping anywhere. I endured through fatigue, COVID, mastitis. I always thought I would feel very happy and liberated when I could stop breastfeeding forever. Yet, when that day came, I felt really sad and guilty instead. Even though it was purely irrational, I could not help feeling bad that I had only breastfed number 3 for 9 months due to work constraints. I wished I could do it longer so that he could have more liquid milk, which would lead to better health and stronger immunity. Mommy's guilt is real. It is the feeling that I'm failing my duty, I'm not good enough, or should be doing more as a mother. Mommy's guilt is widely acknowledged and empathized with. But we seldom hear people talk about workers' guilt. When we don't work hard and give our best each day and for each task, do we also feel bad, guilty? Or do we feel that the company should already be very thankful for what we are doing, given our other responsibilities in life? Do we owe it to the Creator who called us and the organization that employed us to do a good job? Or does our company owe it to us to give us a light workload, high pay, good benefits, and not encroach on our personal lives? I am not saying that we should therefore be on our phones and laptops non-stop, work on weekends, forfeit our leave. What I mean is, can we answer with a clear conscience that we have worked hard and done our best? I will be the first to admit that there were occasions I didn't work hard. What about someone like Jesus? Do you ever wonder if Jesus was a hard worker? In John chapter 5, we read about Jesus healing a man who had been crippled for nearly 40 years. And since this occurs on the Sabbath, the religious leaders are angry and attack Jesus for violating the law instead of being amazed at his miracle. John chapter 5, verse 17, in his defense, Jesus said to them, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." What does Jesus mean? Essentially, Jesus is saying that though his Father ceased from his creation work on the 7th day, he did not cease from working altogether. Instead, his Father has continued to work ever since on Sabbath and on other days, in governing the world, providing for his creation, causing the sun to shine and the rain to fall. Jesus is simply doing what his Father does: work. Jesus is a worker, and he works hard. He does lots of public speaking, deals with many different people, all of whom want something from him. He heals the sick, feeds the hungry, mentors his disciples. There are times when he decided to take a break, but saw the great needs of the people and went back to work. Jesus is fully human and therefore suffered from exhaustion. He's so tired, he sleeps through a storm. Yet in the end, he gets the job done and says, "It is finished. Mission accomplished." Jesus works till his very last breath. Jesus' life demonstrates the relationship between efforts and outcomes. And we know that we need to put in the hours and effort to achieve anything meaningful. Most of us have the desire to work hard, but lack the spark to get started or the stamina to keep going. Here's what's encouraging to know. Unlike gifts and talents, which to a certain extent are part of our nature, hard work is something any of us can choose to engage in. We can make hard work a habit or something that becomes part of who we are. And we will reap the fulfillment and fruits of our labor. The very first thing to know in doing a good job is to work hard. As the saying goes, hard work works. At the same time, we may have experienced occasions when we worked hard but did not produce corresponding results. That brings me to my second point, that to do a good job, we also need to develop skill. Most of us strive to accomplish more in less time, whether in work or life. Wouldn't it be nice to do in a few hours what it used to take you half a day? That's why you hear people say, don't just work hard, work smart. If you Google working smart, the tips you get are don't multitask, take breaks, make a routine, and so on, which are essentially teaching us to adopt better methods. These are important, but secondary. The primary focus should be on becoming a more skillful worker. Joseph worked hard as a slave in Potiphar's house. He did not give up or become discouraged, but remained diligent. Now, whatever Joseph did, God looked favorably on him. Joseph excelled at his duties, became one of Potiphar's most trusted servants, and was put in charge of his household. Unfortunately, Potiphar's wife asked him to sleep with her. When he refused, she falsely accused him of rape. Upon hearing it, Potiphar removed him and sent him to jail. In jail, Joseph was again blessed by God. Joseph correctly interpreted the dreams of two fellow prisoners. This event would later lead to an opportunity to stand before Pharaoh and interpret the king's dreams. When he did, Joseph was promoted from prisoner to prime minister overnight and served as second in command to Pharaoh. This should be the biggest career progression ever. Interestingly, Proverbs, which is known as the book of wisdom in the Bible, says this. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. Here, the writer Solomon commends skillful work. He says that a skilled worker is more likely to attract the attention of kings. This is not a promise guaranteeing success, but a principle. A principle that people who are skilled at what they do are always in greater demand and therefore have a higher likelihood of success. We don't need to work in a palace to know that. Just think about the dynamics at your workplace. Who are the ones that get noticed by the boss? Who are the ones that get promoted? Are they not the ones whose performance is superior? You may argue that the boss bias, these people are bootlickers. But is it not the general pattern that the better workers get rewarded, and rightly so? Isn't that the kind of working environment you want to be in? Then the question we need to ask ourselves is, am I considered a skillful worker? Meaning, am I good at what I do? If your answer is yes, I'm happy for you, because that's a great position to be in. But what if your answer is no, or I don't know? Let's take a look at Joseph's life a little closer. When we read about Joseph, our natural conclusion is he was blessed by God. God made him successful. It was divine intervention by a supernatural being or an anointed person. Well, that is true. But is that the only factor for Joseph's success? We must appreciate that Joseph did his part as well. Remember, Joseph was first introduced as a shepherd. Do you know what a shepherd's JD and KPIs are? Now try to come up with them in your mind now. A shepherd only has one job, which is to take care of sheep. Which means that Joseph was trained in animal feeding, milking, shearing, and his office is the fields. All of these have got absolutely nothing to do with the job of managing a big Egyptian household, let alone running a whole country. But he became good at what he did. So good that Egypt was well stocked with grain when a 7-year famine struck during his time as prime minister, and profited greatly from it. It's like saying Singapore is poised to cruise through global inflation and come out even stronger because we are well prepared with sound policies and smart strategies. Wouldn't you like that? What will it say about our ministers? Surely they must have worked hard. And they must have excellent content knowledge and strong execution as well. If your answer to my question earlier about whether you are a skillful worker is no or unsure, take heart. We can hone our skills just like what Joseph did. Which brings us to the next question: how? How can we develop skills? There are tons of workshops, courses, resources out there on any and every topic. But before we go there, we need to tackle a more fundamental issue. And that is to choose something that we can do well in. To become skillful, we need to first find something that we can be good at. That's straightforward, isn't it? Until we realize that's actually not how we think. We've all heard the saying, do what you love and you'll never work another day. And we've all fantasized about it. How perfect it will be. If I can do what I love full time, then I'll never dread work anymore. We envy those who get to pursue their passion as a career. Steve Jobs, Lionel Messi, Tom Cruise, Blackpink, and closer to home, Naomi Neo. They are living the dream life. But have you noticed that being able to do what you love is only true and possible for a small minority? You may love music, but you can't make a living out of it unless you're super talented. You may love to post on social media, but you can't do it as a job unless you are exceptionally creative and charismatic. Rather, what most people should be doing is become good at what they do and make what they are passionate about a hobby. In fact, doing what you are good at will give you more resources to enjoy your hobby. Choose work that fits your abilities and capacities instead of work that fits your ideal self-image. Which are you spending more time and attention on? So far, we've been talking about ourselves as the worker. Let's switch role and become the customer. Last Sunday, I had a very good experience as a customer. After the sermon, I did take a nap, and I went to Bedok 85 for dinner. Has anyone not been there? Anyone not been to Bedok 85? You really need to move out of the dark side. One of the best items there is eyeballing, Chinese glutinous rice balls. When I'm there, I'll always have it. You may be wondering, how good can it be? It's just eyeballing. It is very well-made eyeballing. You can taste the difference when you eat it. They do it so well, especially the matcha tang yuan, that it not only fills my stomach, it also makes me happy. We may see it as a simple job, making tang yuan. But the aunties are so skillful, their food brings joy and makes a person's day. We've all experienced good food, good service, good quality products, and know how good it makes us feel. Now think about the work you produce. How does it make your customers, clients, colleagues, or recipients feel? What benefit does it bring them? What kind of review will they give? It is important to be as skillful as you can possibly be. We can't be good at everything, but we can all be good at something. When we find something we excel in, people will recognize us and reward us for it. You can begin to discover what you're good at by trying things out, keeping an open mind to feedback, asking people for their opinions, and looking for patterns. Bear in mind that you also need to be patient because it takes time and effort to learn and to become skillful. Doing a good job requires us firstly to work hard and secondly to develop skill. Thirdly, regardless of the outcome, we can only say that we have done a good job if we uphold integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Integrity simply means one. There's only one you, whether in public or in private. Apply it to our workplaces. Integrity becomes doing the right thing even when our bosses are not watching, our colleagues are not standing behind us, the deadlines are not nearing. Having integrity at work means you are reliable and trustworthy. People can count on you to show up to work on time, do your best, not waste time, and keep your word, both at the office and at home. Joseph was a man of character who demonstrated integrity. When his boss's wife tried to seduce him, this is how he responded. Genesis chapter 39, verse 8, but he refused. With me in charge, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even to be with her. Joseph could easily rationalize to himself, what does it matter if I have a good time with my master's wife, so long as I get the job done and I don't get caught? He could even have said, I had no choice, because if I don't please her, I might lose my job. Joseph was human, just like you and me, and the temptation was strong. He was young, well-built, and handsome. There was a lady seducing him every day. Imagine feeling lonely in a foreign land, and there's no one in the office except you and an attractive lady. Yet again and again, he rejected her advances. On one occasion, she even grabbed him physically. But this time, he didn't just refuse. He ran out of the house. What temptations have you encountered at work? The news is full of articles about workers, leaders, organizations, and governments who have failed to uphold integrity. This week, a local food supplier was fined for repacking raw scallops at an unlicensed facility and changing the expiry date. In Japan, a guest house was found to change the water in its onsen only twice a year, allowing bacteria to breed 3,700 times above the standard limit. Our neighboring country's leader was convicted of corruption in one of the largest money laundering scandals in history. The pressure to increase revenue, inertia to do work, and lure of greed is real. And every day when we go to work, we are faced with temptations too. To cut corners, do only what's necessary to get by, put off work to another day, miss deadlines, resort to dishonest methods, trample on others, or push the blame to someone else. We rationalize our actions by saying that we still get the job done. We did not do anything illegal, and everyone's doing it. But you know what? Our actions will eventually catch up with us. Maybe not as serious as it's being published in the newspaper, but our work will speak for itself. It will show if we have worked without integrity. And if so, we will be put at a disadvantage. We've seen example after example of people who lack personal integrity and as a result, lost respect, reputation, admiration, influence, and authority. Integrity isn't easy, but when we choose to uphold it at work, we don't just earn ourselves a good reputation. We also foster a positive work environment and promote ethical approaches in the organization. It benefits both the employee and employer. Having integrity at work means you are dependable. People can count on you. You are honest with your managers, colleagues, and customers. You are responsible for your actions, especially when you make a mistake. You have a strong work ethic and strive to produce high-quality work consistently. You are firm in your moral principles to do what is right and reject what is wrong. Integrity makes you a better person, enables you to have better relationships, draws people to you, and most importantly, gives you peace. By now, I hope you are convinced that it's crucial to uphold integrity because it's good for you and good for your business. But this is actually a low level of motivation. We are really just doing a cost-benefit analysis. Integrity is profitable. Dishonesty isn't. Then what happens when the benefits significantly outweigh the costs? True integrity at its core is based on personal values rather than personal gain. This means we need a non-negotiable set of values. Here's where Christianity equips its believers with an ethical compass and power not present in other worldviews. Think about it. Why did Joseph choose to do the right thing? Notice that Joseph did not just say that he should not be ungrateful because Potiphar had been kind to him. He did not just consider it unwise to be sexually involved with his master's wife. It was not even because he did not want to do something immoral. What he said was, how can I sin against God? You will never really uphold integrity if your motivation is purely external. You cannot uphold integrity even if your motivation is internal. However, Christianity empowers us to uphold integrity because its motivation is eternal. We recognize that there is a greater being that we answer to and want to please. So what matters is not only what we do, but how we go about doing it. Last week, I shared about how I came to church because of my mom's big decision to switch her off day to Sunday. Today, I'll let you in on a secret about her industry. Hairstylist income is largely commission-based, which makes having a high volume of customers crucial. But not only that, the type of service the customers choose is equally, if not more important. Make a guess, which service ranks the lowest for hairstylists? It is wash and cut. How many of you go to your hairstylist only for that? It brings them the least profit. In their jargon, hairstylists prefer to 做大头, meaning do big head. Not big in terms of the size or circumference, guys. Big in terms of commission. And these are services like perming, rebonding, dyeing, and best of all, treatment. My mom witnesses her colleagues lying frequently to customers about their hair and scalp condition just to sell them the treatment. Her response to that is, 我看不下去，我做不出这种东西. She can't stand it and can never bring herself to do that. But rewind years back, my mom would jump at any opportunity to be successful, including leaving a 10-year-old me behind to work at her salon's first overseas outlet. Thankfully, after knowing Jesus, she's navigating her work with an entirely different compass. She does not compromise on her morals to win the rat race. She gives her best to every customer, whether big or small head. And even when some customers' hair texture makes any hairstyling futile, actually. She clears the trash and cleans the salon when there's a shortage of salon assistants. I think she can say confidently, with a clear conscience, that she does a good job. Not just because she's a skillful hairstylist, but just as importantly, because she's committed to uphold integrity. Wouldn't you want that too? Baby wants that. God has called us to be salt and light in the world, including our workplaces. Our work gives us a powerful opportunity to be witnesses for Jesus Christ. The biggest factor that determines whether people in the marketplace will even give you a hearing for the gospel is how they view you as a worker. If you are lazy, do a bad job, or are unethical, you do great damage to the cause of Christ. However, if you develop a reputation as someone who is hardworking, skillful, and credible, people will be much more likely to hear what you have to say about your faith. Rather than complain about the imperfections and injustice in your workplace, like Joseph, we should see all this as an opportunity for us to demonstrate that we're different. And if we persevere, we'll see God using us to fulfill His purposes in our workplace. That's why towards the end of his work life, Joseph came to this conclusion. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The same thing will happen to us too if we are committed to doing good job, not just for ourselves, but for the glory of God. I recognize that there are some of you who may be struggling to do a good job in your workplace. We've all worked in ways and produced work which we are not proud of. I want to encourage you to ask God for wisdom and grace to be the best worker that you can be. Everything we've talked about are things we can work on and grow in. When we choose to do a good job, the Bible tells us that at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And at the end of each workday, we can look at what we've done, and like our Creator, say it is very good, and experience that inner satisfaction.